Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly Dungeon Master this evening. Tonight, we are continuing on with our ongoing campaign, playing Paizo Publishing's very cool Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and we're playing it set in Greg Gillespie's very awesome Barrowmaze complete setting. And with me tonight are the stars of the Barrowmaze campaign. First up, making his triumphant return to the second chapter of our Barrowmaze campaign is Chad.
Hey everybody, I'm Chad. I'm playing Roan Scar's horse tonight, sticking with him. He is a half-orc sorcerer.
Nice. And next up, returning champ, is Arlen Walker.
Hi, I'm Arlen, and I am playing Sir Yvain. He is a champion paladin of Arcantral, and he's at sort of the center of some major happenings right now, so that's exciting.
That he is. And next up is Carl. Oh, Carl, I need you to change your display name.
I need to change my name.
Yeah. But next up is Carl.
Hello, I'm Carl, and I am not playing Buka Duskwort. I am playing Thorolov, a fighter.
Nice. And last but not least is John.
Hey everyone, Jonathan here. Zuko has not died. He's just on hiatus in the other city. I'm playing Druk, the half-orc druid, and his feisty companion, a wolf.
Yes.
So, that'll be me for today.
Nice. Oh, we went with the wolf. That's awesome. So, my apologies for those who may have been wanting to join us live at the usual start time. We took a little extra time because what we've with the party in the heroes in kind of two different places at the same time in the campaign. What we've decided to do is, take the opportunity to explore some more new characters, and everyone in the game is going to have alternate characters now, or backup characters, that they will use when their other characters are elsewhere. And then what we'll do is, as the campaign goes on, we will be shifting the camera back and forth between the different groups until they all kind of get back together. They could very well all end up back in Helix, because Helix is kind of where everything happens. But for now, tonight, we're going to remain in the town of Helix with our some of our heroes. Now, last we left the Barrowmaze, we had a pretty eventful day with Sir Yvain, with Werbin Silverstone, the Dwarven Druid, and Badonk Bentbucket, the Goblin Monk, also known as the Lucky Goblin. Arlen, you were there. Or rather, Sir Yvain was. What happened last session?
Last session, what did happen last session? Oh, we took arms against the forces of shadow to destroy a symbol, a sign of the demon god Orcus that was placed on very near to a wounded man. Hendon the Ranger was wounded many sessions ago, but not so long ago for our heroes. And our brother Otar of St. Yig was doing a ritual to heal him, and there was a whole thing with the bone blossom that we had to go get for him to help him out with that. And the ritual was not working, and we decided that it was because of some sign or some incantation that was being done to impede the ritual. And we found the sign, and then we attempted to destroy the sign, and that didn't work. So we did like all good scholar heroes do and went to the library to find out how to actually destroy the sign. And then we went back and we destroyed the sign. And then we had some interesting, Sir Yvain decided that he needed to stand outside all night to make sure nothing else happened. And he got called Sir Albus multiple times.
Yeah.
Which was kind of an interesting experience for him, since Sir Albus died and Sir Yvain very much hopes not to die. But yeah, it was exciting stuff.
Okay, so where we'll be picking up, Wick, it's been a while since you've been back in the Barrowmaze, and this is a couple of months later. We're right in the throes of the winter in the Duchy of Eric right now, and I think what'll happen is that our scene will open. Arlen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were still around like midday when we left your heroes off last time, when you went to speak with Brother Othar, and you shared with him your concerns about.
Yeah, it was a little late because I had stayed up all night, so I got some rest, and then Badonk had too much to drink, so he got some rest, and then by about midday, we kind of crawled out and went over to the Shrine of Saint Yig and talked to Brother Otar about a traitor in the midst.
Yeah. So what you see is our scene will open with kind of a view of the snow-filled road. This finds us right in the heart of winter right now, Wick. And there is a small a single axle wagon, or cart, I guess. It's not a wagon if it's only got one axle. A cart that's being dragged along by a very weathered and cold-looking shaggy donkey, or mule. And this thing is leading along, and there's a guy who is sitting behind or sitting in the cart. The cart itself is laden with supplies, and it has a kind of like a loose tarp over it. And walking along next to the cart are 3 figures. 2 of these figures are clearly, they're about the size of humans, but clearly are not human, or at least not wholly human. These 2, of course, are Druk and Roan. And you guys, in your journey back from Ironguard, Mott, Roan, you're finally, I think this is probably the final time of you returning to Helix. What was the last thing you remember happening?
I was running around in the woods for weeks after the evil druid attack, and then I got back to town and ran into Badonk, and I think we organized another expedition into the Barrowmaze.
Why did the troll thing happen? Was that the last thing?
Yeah, we scouted the troll cave, and we fought some harpies on our way back. But I didn't participate in the troll ghost business.
Okay.
I found the cave with the murdered trolls and snuck in there, not invisible enough.
Okay. So we've been what we started on the Discord channel. We started a channel as well too for backstories too, and that's sort of a way if you guys want to toss any story ideas for your characters in there for me to pick up and run with. What we had established in the first chapter of this campaign was that Roan had constantly been feeling a strange pull when he was getting close to the Barrow Mounds, right?
Yes.
Do you think that might have been part of the reason he disappeared, or do you think it's something else, something related to his past?
I mean, it could easily be something related to his past, but I feel like we were getting a little bit too close to that one barrow mound that he did not care for. So I'm imagining he tried to get somewhere warm and then got into trouble there too, and this is the only place he knows.
Okay, so that is what brings him back to the back to Helix once again after months of being gone. And what do we see as Roan is kind of is flanking this cart as it makes its way creaking into the midday snow-filled courtyard or town square, I should say.
Well, he looks like he's been sleeping rough, even though his clothes are fine, but torn and mended several times. And it looks like he's been sleeping rough, and he's wearing several layers of clothes that are not suited for this particular climate.
Ah, okay. And the companion half-orc, the tall, man with green skin, with a timber wolf, trotting along next to him. What does he look like, John?
Well, typical half-orc, greenish skin, slightly more with a grayish tinge to it. Kind of like resembles a Barrowmore during the off-season.
Okay.
His shaggy wolf is about the same coloration with, you guess there was some moss growing in his fur. He's not that well kept.
Yeah.
But Druk is specced out in like hide armor. He carries with him a one metal weapon. It's a large falchion. And
Now, that brings up an interesting quandary, because druids have that...
Yeah, they can't wear metal armor.
Is it only metal armor that they can't... Is that the thing that's the anathema for them?
Yes.
Using metal armor or shields. Yeah, no, that's right. So weapons, they are fine. And the reason I bring it up is only because it's worth noting that in Pathfinder 2, they actually bake in rules for the kind of breaking your oath kind of thing. Like the issue you have with paladins when they don't act the way paladins are supposed to, or druids or whatnot. There's specific rules for what happens with that, and sets out what the strictures are. So
he's part of the animal order, so he's
oh, cool.
very affectionate towards animals, and he doesn't like seeing them abused.
Nice.
Hunting them, hunt and kill them, but don't torture them.
Okay.
And he was a bounty hunter.
Good thing we don't need
for a target.
What was that, Arlen?
It's a good thing we don't need to know those rules for Sir Yvain, because he would never break his holy oath.
I can't wait to look up the rules for the atone ritual. So, okay, so that's what Druk looks like. And what is, first off, what is his the name of his wolf?
He just calls it Hair Dog.
Hair Dog, okay.
It's kind of on the young side, so it hasn't earned a name yet.
Okay, okay. So Hair Dog is trotting along next to you, and is this sort of like the, classic silver-furred, timber wolf, or is this something that's more like dark, like, Germanic backwoods kind of thing?
Germanic backwoods, but I think he's been rolling around in a bunch of stuff he shouldn't have, and moss has started to grow on him.
Okay, got it.
So,
all right.
Build somewhat of a pup.
And then finally, Carl, what does Sorlav look like?
So Sorlav, he probably has like that weathered look from being out and as a, growing up as a farmer, always outside. But, he has a smirk on his face because he's kind of left that, profession. Maybe he left it illegally. I don't know if serfdom and what the medieval society is like. But he ran away. So he's got a smirk on his face, all his adventuring.
Okay.
He kind of probably maybe has some sympathy. He actually speaks Goblin. He doesn't speak Orc, but he has some sympathy for the non-human races for whatever reason. I haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
He's wearing a breastplate, carries a shield and a sword, and has a short bow because maybe he hunted illegally on the land too as a farmer.
Okay.
It's some poaching.
Love it. So if he went kind of the, graduated from farmer and then somehow earned enough money to buy all this gear, am I correct in thinking he served as a hireling at some point?
Potentially, he must have, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe this is a triumphant return for him, where he actually was a hireling. He hired off through Osen's trade goods, or Osen's mercenary guild, and he somehow, miraculously dodged the fate of seemingly every other henchman in our campaign.
Yeah, it's like what did they say about pilots in World War I, that they average about 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what henchmen are like in this world.
It really is.
I think they average about 6 hexes, though, not weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We went through at least 30 henchmen in the span of the first chapter of the campaign. So, and that's not unusual for just how dangerous this place is. So it could be that this is your, you've been just maybe earning money.
Slowly earning money, right?
Yeah.
Saving some here and there.
Okay. So that means that you probably, Sorlav, you've been here before too. Druk, do you think that you've been to Helix before as well?
He's probably been through here and there. He doesn't stop long.
Okay. So he, what do you call it? He makes his way into, well, I mean, one of the things, if you look at the Barrowmaze documents, remember that, like, the only thing you need to do is have buy-in for your character for why they stay here. So, there's going to be a reason. I'm not giving it to you. You got to come up with the reason for why he's here. So
I'm pretty sure this is going to rope him in because the Barrowmaze is acting up, and he's probably going to get drawn into it because he is a druid.
Okay. Oh, and there definitely is doings transpiring. Knowing that he's a druid, actually, you know what? I think that what he would likely know already is that there is some tumult in the local circle here. There seems to be, you haven't necessarily heard what it specifically is, and it's wintertime, so like, no one's going to go out into the wilds. You'd be a crazy person to go traveling in the Barrow Moor in the wintertime. but yeah, you definitely heard through what connections you have that things are off here. So that's a great way for doing by him. Oh, and Sir Yvain, you can keep yourself at 2 hero points because you're going to get the extra for the summary. Bingo.
Excellent.
Okay. So, where we'll pick up then is, I think you guys, Roan and Druk and Sorolav, you all come into town, and the merchant kind of nods, once you guys get in, and he has to head over to Mazza the Magnificent's tower over here. He has a delivery to make there. But you guys, I think, Roan and Sorolav and Druk, there's 2 places you can choose to go right now. One of those is the Foul Pheasant for, the entertainments of the flesh offered by the lovely and gregarious Perny Ticklebottom. Or you can head in for a meal and a pint at the Brazen Trumpet.
Is my wolf allowed in?
Sorry?
My wolf allowed in?
Your wolf is likely not allowed in, no. The only animals who are allowed in are the 2 circus dogs, Biscuit and Bone, owned by the Lucky Goblin.
Well, that's not fair.
Yeah, it really isn't. So you guys head over, and I think you would probably know that, Druk, but outside, as you guys get there, you can see that there is, Roan, you've been probably the most familiar with this, but outside, underneath a heap of furs, is sitting Alistair, the guy who, seems to always be outside there. He babbles, oft and stares, has that 1,000-yard stare, and next to him is that shabby old warhound, Mr. Pagans, said to be the left behind by a now deceased henchman. Druk, I imagine that if you've been here before, then Hair Dog just kind of knows to either go around back and kind of sniff around, or to just take its place next to Mr. Pagans.
Yeah, I tell him to sit and behave.
Okay, so
I will toss it over in Alistair's cup, and I will avoid Mr. Pagans. He does not like me.
So Mr. Pagan sees you, and that he's a big like mastiff looking thing, and the head comes up kind of and growls at you, Roan.
Yeah, I missed you too.
So you drop.
Roan, I guess there's a story there.
I think I just failed my first animal handling, or I can't remember what it was, but I totally botched a roll trying to befriend the dog.
So you head in, and what do you call it? The Brazen Strumpet is very much how you left it. It's the place is warm and inviting, and at this time of day, there's probably a couple of farmers that are sitting in here, kind of older guys who are having a conversation in a corner. You can hear the ringing of the anvil at the Accent Anvil, where Card Barrelgut and his cousin are no doubt hard at work on supplies for next year's adventurers. Behind the bar is, of course, Ballo. And Ballo is, you know who he is, Roan. He kind of looks over, and he nods as, okay, your recognition. And let's see who's working today. Because normally it's Tacey, just because I like role-playing Tacey the best, but let's see. Maybe it's going to be Murda again. In fact, I think, actually, you know what? We did establish it was Murda. So Murda is the half-elf who is not someone, whose personality doesn't necessarily suit her for this kind of waitress. And so she looks over, she just looks you up and down, Roan, and says, "You stink."
You're right.
Shakes her head, and then
I'll
kind
take
of walks over.
pint.
Sorry, what was that?
I'll take a troll-sized pint.
Yeah. All right, and then you walk in, Sorolav, and you can see that Roan seems to be heading over to one of the seats. And Ballo kind of looks over, and he says, "The henchman! You're back."
I guess he's talking to me.
Yeah.
He goes, "Lucky, I guess." And I kind of like I guess one of the pieces of equipment that Solarlov has is like a mug, and I kind of unclasp my mug and say, "My lucky mug."
Maybe that's the
Took an
only
arrow.
thing. What if like every
aiming
piece of
for
your
my head.
gear, was taken off of some other fallen like adventurer?
Most likely, yeah.
So you didn't actually buy the stuff; you scavenge it off of corpses. That's great. Okay, so you head over and you plunk your thing down in the bar, and he says, "All right." And then Drook, you walk in as well too, and you can see at this point Roan has made his way over to a table and is kind of sitting down, and there's no one else really in the bar at this time of year.
Yeah, Drook is tired of walking with these people that he's met for the last day, and he goes to the bar to be by himself and orders a drink.
Okay, so he goes and sits at the bar. So Sorlev, you take your seat with Roan, and Roan eventually Murda brings the drink over and puts it down for you. You haven't eaten in quite some time, but Murda's not offering food, so if you want it, you're gonna have to ask.
I salute to the Guild of Surviving Henchmen.
Okay, the two old farmers kind of look over and gesture towards you, and get it.
If Roan taps it or not, but
Yeah, I will tap it. It's hey, you at least you didn't go into the Barrowmaze armed only with a cheese.
Who was carrying the cheese that time? That was so weird.
I remember, but the cheese lasted more sessions than he did.
Yes, he did. Okay, so then the you guys sit down and finally Balo gets food brought out to you. So you sit down and you start digging in. Sorlev, I imagine you're just sort of like yet another job done, more coin in your pocket. That's good. Rome, what do you think, and how are you feeling about being back in Helix again after such a long time?
Oh, I feel like I picked the wrong season, but other than that, this place has been pretty good to Roan.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, you had quite a bit of loot from last time.
Yeah.
So what, Roan, you it's probably about a little past noon by the time. Yeah, it's not true. It's about 2 o'clock, I think. By the time you can hear people kind of talking outside, only because it's so quiet in here right now, and so the fact there's a conversation going on outside the front door, which is probably on the far side of the room from you. You spy. Well, I think first you hear the conversation of people, and you see people you recognize. You see Werbin Silverstone, that dwarf that you've adventured with a couple of times. You see another goblin, and it's difficult to tell under all the winter furs, but it could be Badonk. But then walking with them is you feel kind of, well, you tell me how you feel about this, but what you see is just kind of the head down, like the shoulder down, I should say. It's someone dressed in the robe of the Holy Order of Arcantrell. Like, it looks like Sir Albus is walk into this place. How does that hit Roan?
Oh, I'm pretty surprised. But I'll call out to Badonk and I'll call it to Werbin first because he's the only one I can clearly recognize.
Okay.
But then I'll say, Badonk, Sir Albus, done your forays in the wild, have you?
So they're actually you're seeing them through the window. They're walking past outside, and then there's a brief moment where they pause. You see that Werbin and Badonk head off in a different direction, but the door opens, and for the life of you, from where the sun is at this point, and it's getting close to setting the west, it sort of silhouettes this, but for the life of you,
Halo.
yeah, exactly, and you see this paladin walk in, and you're kind of, your eyes are more sensitive to darkness than they are to light anyway, so you're kind of like, you would think this is Sir Albus, for the briefest of moments, Sir Albus resurrected. And then the door closes behind this figure, who is studying the room, and you realize that there's a couple of things. For one, this person, while is dressed like Sir Albus, is actually a little leaner than he is. and you can see that there's a gentle point to his ears as well, because he is, of course, it bespeaks the elven heritage that he has. And he actually looks like his hair's a different color as well, too, but, geez, he still carries himself with that same kind of commanding presence that Sir Albus did. Sir Yvain, you have now walked into the, you just finished that conversation with Brother Othar, and I think that Badonk and Werbin had something else they were going to do, or something they said they were going to do, so you decided to head back into the Brazen Strumpet. I'll let you tell us what that's going to be in a moment, but as you walk in, intent to go and do whatever it was you're going to do, you can look over, and there is a half-orc, tall, rangy kind of guy, who looks like he's just staring agog at you. And then you kind of make eye contact, and then that's when you realize, Roan, that it isn't, obviously it's not Sir Albus. That's crazy. So what do you think you would do when you realize it isn't him? Like, do you look away, or do you pretend?
I guess I just kind of, he looks like an adventurer, so I guess I'll just kind of tip a pint at him and turn back to the bar.
Okay. So, Sir Yvain, what you see in the bar right now is there is, I think you do know Sorolav, because Sorolav he's got kind of a reputation around town in the same way that, the Lucky Goblin does, because what's his name, Badonk used to go out and come back with just tons of loot all the time. Sorolav seems to be one of the few survivors that always would go out with these different expeditions. The expeditions would get ravaged, but he'd come back safe. Until the point where people just refused to take him along. So he's like, all right, well, I guess I'll hire out as a mercenary for a bit, and then I'll put together my groups. Mm-hmm. So you recognize Sorolav, and then there's there's two half-orcs in the bar as well, too, in addition to the one that was seeming to look at you. So what are you thinking? What knowing what your last conversation was, knowing that you know Sorolav, and you've probably spoken to him at length, just because you're a bit of a chatty Cathy, and he certainly sounds like a chatty Cathy as well. What are you doing?
Well, I think I'm gonna. Which waitress is it? It's not the friendly one.
It's Murda, the
half-elf. Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of wave maybe a couple times to get her attention.
She gets up from behind the bar and walks over. What?
Food and drink, please.
She walks away without saying anything else.
Thank you kindly. And I'm going to go sit next to Sorolav.
Okay. So you sit down, and Sorolav has got his lucky mug out. It's full of, Balo's beer. And I think, Sorolav, I take it what did you say the toast was for? The Lucky Henchmen?
The Guild of Lucky Henchmen.
The Guild of Lucky Henchmen. So
surviving henchmen.
For which?
I don't know. He's already had a couple beers. He doesn't remember. Let's say Lucky.
I think it's the Guild of Lucky Henchmen. Population 1. So.
Well, I'm getting one. Do you want? I look over. I say, "Do you want to join?" But I think the better of it, since he looks like a holy kind of guy.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, I'm not a henchman anymore. I've graduated."
That's wonderful to hear. And Sir Yvain will turn to Roan and say, "And I don't believe we've had the pleasure."
No, name's Roan. I've done a few expeditions out of Helix before. You had the look of an old companion of mine.
I think I know.
You probably hear that a lot.
I've heard that a couple times in the last day or so. He will be dearly missed. And I'm Sir Yvain, not
Pleasure.
Sir Albus.
He seems oddly insistent about that point.
Yeah.
Okay. So, knowing, I guess, that, what you've gone through the last couple of days, I imagine that, we're not going to roleplay it out because I don't want to roleplay someone else's character, but we'll assume that, Werbin and Badonk come back at some point and kind of provide the introductions for Roan. There's sort of the long lost, like, where have you been? Kind of stuff. And you find out that like Sir Roan has actually adventured with them for quite some time, and they trusted him. They actually got further into the Barrowmaze than they've ever gotten with his assistance. You know, he is some kind of powerful mage or sorcerer of some kind. They say, which is strange. I mean, to look at him, you wouldn't think it. Not because he's a half orc, but because he's a pretty tall, lanky dude. I think you were describing him as built like kind of like a basketball player, right, Wick?
Yeah, he'd be built like kind of like a basketball, like small forward, like 6'5", over 200 pounds. But yeah, not a super beefy half orc, but definitely big for a sorcerer.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you guys? What are you having? Provided the introduction. I'm assuming that you guys. We're not going to role play through to force you guys to stumble upon trusting each other well enough. But I take it that Sir Yvain, you gotten to know Roan well enough to feel confident with confiding in him with what's going on, I guess.
Yeah, I think probably like a portion of. I'm kind of imagining that Sir Yvain is learning pretty quickly that some of these things are best to talk about behind closed doors.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
So what he will tell Rowan is basically like, I don't know if you've heard, but this whole thing with Hinden happened, and the sun and the bone blossom, and there was a ritual, and something was working against this ritual, and we need to find out who it was.
So Rowan, I guess like Wick, first of all, like I'm not sure if you've had a chance to watch any of
I haven't had a chance to catch up on any of the second iteration of the game. So
okay.
I thought if I'm bringing Rowan in out of the wild, then I won't watch.
No, don't feel like you need to sit through, like we're 11 sessions in right now, and it's an average of 3 hours per session, so that's a day and a half of gaming. And I mean it fits the role playing that Rowan is like, wait, what happened? So you may recall.
Well, yeah, let me do it in more detail.
Yeah.
So a couple of days ago, Hinden, the ranger, was out with his son, and they were attacked. The boy was kidnapped, and the ranger himself was grievously wounded, but able to drag himself back home. The adherents of St. Yig then worked on patching him up as best they could, and a group of us went out into the Barrowmoor to try to find the boy. And after a fair bit of chaos and random encounters and all of those sorts of things, we ended up finding the boy in the presence of two strange, hard to say if they were vampiric or demonic, but evil little girls in a ruined cathedral sort of place. We brought the boy back, although at the time, one of the things we found out was that the boy was infected with some type of vampirism, and I was able to use holy water to help deal with that in him to the best of our knowledge at the time. From there, we came back and found out that Hinden, the ranger, was in serious trouble if we couldn't get a special sort of flower called a bone blossom. And this bone blossom only grows on bodies that have not risen up in undeath. So that becomes an issue in a place like the Barrowmoor that's full of undead. So what we decided to do was to go back to the troll cave, and the troll cave that you scouted, and that was filled with spectral trolls and was filled with spectral trolls again. And after another series of chaotic random encounters and PCs almost dying and all that sort of stuff, we found the bone blossom, brought it back home, brought it to Brother Otar, who was in charge of the ritual to try to heal Hinden, and it seemed like that was going to be it, except it wasn't, because it turns out that this ritual, it was taking much longer, and then we gradually, after doing some researching, found out that there was something working against the culmination of Brother Otar's ritual, and in fact we found a scrawled sign of malignant power a ram's skull scrawled onto the one of the walls in the I don't know what you call a stable for goats, but whatever you call a stable
Pen?
for goats. A pen? Yeah, in the goat's pen, on one of the walls, this symbol was scrawled, and it was leaking out some type of necrotic evil energy that was preventing Brother Otar, and we were able to destroy that sign. But we're having a bit of an issue. So Werbin the dwarf, who's something of a survivalist, went looking at the tracks of who went back and forth around that sign, and it seems that whoever put that sign on the goat's pen came from inside the house of Hendon the Ranger. So we have a limited number of suspects of people who could have placed this nefarious image in the place that it was put, which is concerning because none of them seem to be the sort who would do that sort of thing, to the best of our knowledge. It's a little. I think it's shaken Sir Yvain a little bit to find out that to think about like the. Obviously, he doesn't know that much about the family, but they seem like a loving family trying to support each other. And then the other people are adherents of Saint Yig, who is a good god, and Saint Yig is protecting Helix. So it's a little at kind of the weakest startling, and perhaps even more than that, to think about that one of them could have drawn the symbol of Orcus on the goat pin.
So, Wick, why don't you give me a... let's get some dice rolling here. Why don't you give me a religion check? Just get a sense of how much Roan knows about...
Because I was actually going to sketch out that symbol that we found in one of the barrows.
Which symbol was that?
Well, it was like a statue to some, like, I feel like it.
Oh, do you mean in the maze itself?
Yeah.
Yes. Hold on. You. I can find that. No, I'm fairly certain it was Orcus actually. Let me.
So I got 17 for my religion.
17. Okay. So. So, Wick, there's two ways of setting DCs in Pathfinder, just for your edification here. One of them is we can set it when it's relative to a level. So if you're contesting against something, and I'm going to use, like, someone else's skill or someone's saving throw or something like that as your target number, it will often be either set by that character you're acting against, or there's levels I get from the rulebook or the DM screen. The other way of doing it is there's DCs that are set by level of proficiency. So that's things like if you're a trained person, trained in something, what would the average person who's trained know? And expert, similarly.
Right. So yeah, Roan is trained in religion.
Yeah. So no, I mean that doesn't. How trained you are is not necessarily. That's what gives you your bonus. But what I'm saying is that, like, let's say that I decide that this tidbit of religion is something that, as long as you're trained in it, that's about what the difficulty would be. That's a flat DC that doesn't go up or down depending on level. So there's two different ways of setting DCs in PF2. So in this one, a trained one is a 15. So I think what you didn't get to the point of expert. So an expert DC, simple DC, is 20. So what you know is, of course, that Orcus is, it's a god of... a dark god, for one, and he is... the brother of the god Set. And you're from, I can't remember, Roan's from out east, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So you actually might know Orcus by his, the name that the Futurus worshippers call him, which is Malum Mortis. And you know that he has a symbol of a white ram's head on a black field, and he's the god of undeath, death, and the underworld. And legends say that he seized that from some darker, ancient figure. As often happens with the darker gods, they are not. I mean, even that's not true. I mean, even the good gods in this, they still have strife amongst them as well. Okay, I'm trying to find that. Why don't I look at the stupid map and I can find where that star is, and I'll tell you what it is. I'm fairly certain it was a statue of Orcus, though. And were you saying you were going to sketch out what it looks like?
Yeah, I was just going to sketch out that symbol and just say, the symbol you found, did it look like this?
Yeah, let me... it was one of those side rooms right near the beginning. There was an illustration with it as well, right?
There was an illustration, yes.
Yes. Okay. Give me one sec here, because I think... Yeah, it's on the way down. Oh, yeah, and there's that room that had the what do you call it? The places you could place things as well. Well, anyway, I'll just hold up the illustration because this is what the I'm certain that's what it was. It's this thing here.
That's the one.
Pretty nasty looking.
Yeah. So, yes, and I think from before that's, it's definitely something that is part of the dark powers.
I'll whatever I did the sketch on, I will quickly rub it out, so it doesn't linger very long.
Yeah. Didn't you? There was a statue. Remember when you rescued that that dwarf? Yeah, because I think wasn't there a statue there as well?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that's what you remember. That's so. Anyway, I interrupted your discussion there, guys. Sorry.
I'll wipe out whatever I did the sketch on.
Okay.
Just be seems that Orcus has taken an interest in these Barrowmaze. That interest is extended to Helix.
Okay. Now, are you guys having the conversation at the table with Sorlev then as well? You think?
Hope so. I haven't left.
I think at some point, Sir Yvain is going to suggest that we go up to his room to talk, but he may. I don't know if he's done that yet or not.
Okay.
Or maybe this is the triggering moment where he says we should talk more behind closed doors.
Okay. So maybe up till now, yeah, you guys have been talking about all this crazy stuff. So Sorlev, you've heard all this stuff. Druk, you're at the bar still, I guess?
Yeah, he's kind of half paying attention to what's going on at the table.
Okay. So Sorlev, you're this is like, Jesus, this is the scariest shit you've probably heard since coming here. Like,
It's crazy.
yeah.
This says nothing on the toads, Sorlev. Nothing on the toads.
Druk downs the last bit of his mead and gets another one and then walks over to the table and sits down.
Okay.
That's not the god of the toads, is it? I asked. No. Nope. No one knows.
Oh, I don't know the god of the toads, but he's very giving because his people are everywhere.
What does Druk know about Orcus?
Druk, is he trained in religion?
Not.
He's not. I don't know if he... he's a child of the wild, right? So yeah, I think I'll let you roll anyway. Okay, so you know enough. Yeah, you know that there are rumors. You know what I've mentioned to the other guys too, and I think that you know that there are rumors of Orcus having an active cult as well too, and just as a refresher as well for I need to load an image of it as well too, but this is what good old Charmer Orcus looks like.
That looks like that statue that you drew, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
So as Droop unintentionally sits down at the table, he leans in and says, there are rumors that there's a cult in the Barrowmore that worship this.
Oh, you guys have 2 new characters who are joining, actually. That means, speaking of rumors, there's 2 other tidbits of you guys. Each of you give me a d20 roll, please.
Ooh.
18 for Druk and a 1 for Sorlev. Okay, so 8 for Druk. What you've heard, and you can choose whether you choose to share this with everyone or not, but what you've heard about the Barrowmaze is that there are mutated people in the Barrowmaze, hideous, deformed living creatures, twisted by evil magics, that enslave humans.
It doesn't sound relevant to the conversation, but...
No, but this is a tidbit that you know in the back of your head. And for you, Sorlev, what you've heard is that it's said that twisted, mutated people live in the Barrowmaze. So you've heard a lesser version of the same rumor that Druk shared. So anyway, so that's what you guys know. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this here? Like the, Sir Yvain, what's you sort of had to come up with a plan, I guess, for a next step here. What are you guys thinking about doing? What were you thinking about doing, I guess? Because there was some discussion yesterday of there's another pressing issue that you've had visions about as well, but I don't know if you want to keep it to the...
Yeah, so we've got another issue going on.
Okay.
So several of us now, by which I mean Wes and I, have both had spectral visits from Sir Albus. And I don't know if you were around when Wes had his, but in my case, Sir Albus drew the symbol of Archantrel, our god, on my window pane, and I rushed outside, and his specter granted me a vision, which leads us to believe that we need to speak with the Mother of Toads. The Mother of Toads, who is somewhere in the Barrowmore near Bogtown.
But we just came from that direction.
Well,
More travel.
at least the road will be familiar, Druk.
That's true.
I'm happy to elaborate more if you're concerned about the details of the dream or want to do some, psychoanalysis or something.
No good with the dead. I'm gonna make
Spectral Sir Albus sounds more pleasant than most of my dreams when I'm in Helix. So,
Yeah.
have I heard of this Mother of Toads?
You have, yeah, you're aware. Mother of Toads is said to be an unbelievably ancient being that dwells outside of Bogtown, and she seems to have unnatural knowledge. She's said to be the wisest woman in 200 miles, and she is, however, is said to that her lore comes at a cost. So, and by that they mean like not that you got to bring money to pay, by like there's a consequence you pay for.
That sounds like even more than a favor, and I hate paying in favors.
That sounds unpleasant.
Depends on the favor.
So, what do you think of Sir Yvain? You've had a chance to talk this over with Roan. Roan, what are you making of all this stuff?
Well, this is the first This isn't actually the first that we've had issues with things happening in Helix, so I think it's sort of the first time that a cult has been brazen enough to identify themselves. Though there's been sort of like anonymous sabotage at the Church of Saint Yig before.
Well, that was, remember, it wasn't, I mean, it was anonymous in the sense that you don't know who the things were, but there was a giant stone and root creature that attacked and destroyed the roof of the Shrine of Saint Yig.
Right.
You guys didn't witness that, but yeah, I mean, but no one from the Green Faith has claimed responsibility for it. It's assumed that that's what's happened, but no one's, you know.
I thought there was some other kind of mysterious sabotage, but maybe I'm remembering things wrong.
Skurg believed that someone was poisoning Brother Albaz, or Brother Othar.
Right. That's what it was.
Yeah. But, yeah. So what are you guys thinking? What are you going to do?
Well, if the Mother of Toads is our only lead, it's not like we can really get into the Barrowmore right now and try to root out these cultists at their home.
True.
Well, and
Maybe if Wes was here, but I'm not leading the way in there.
So those are two, just so you're clear too, they're two separate issues here. There was the vision that Sir Yvain had that in which he saw Sir Albus. That's one thing that was going on, and there is the issue of this mark because the part of the vision that Sir Albus or Sir Yvain had, it was toads. There was he was in a blackened kind of like a dark clearing, standing underneath this enormous pillar with the markings of Saint Yig on it, a blazing fire atop it. At the like the very edge of the darkness, you could hear, you know, the sound of the gnashing teeth of the undead. But then what came in from in a circle and forced him to stumble and then knock over the pillar were a horde of toads. And that was a separate vision. They were sort of like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and that's when they were chit-chatting with the other people and realizing that the ritual was just not working properly. It wasn't going forward, and that's what led them to investigate that. So there's two different issues that are going on here. One of which was, yeah.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
what do we think? Analysis paralysis. There's too many problems.
Well, Drew doesn't want to, get in there and interfere, but he thinks the Toad's bad business.
So I think part of it is, to my mind, Sir Yvain is not an intriguer. He's kind of out of his depth with trying to figure out who it is who did this, putting the marks. So his kind of natural inclination, he's sort of torn because his two inclinations are, one, need to protect Helix, which means staying here from the dark forces that are here, but at the same time, his kind of natural inclination in terms of what to actually deal with is not try the sneaky talky stuff and go and deal with the Toad Mother, because that's kind of what he is built for.
Yeah. And again, like just so we're all on the same page here too. What Sir Albus or Sir Yvain, I keep saying Albus, that ain't good. That ain't good for you at all. What Sir Yvain is making clear is that marking, what Werbin noticed, is there are tracks that could only have come from an adult human-sized creature, that could only have come from within that cabin.
Yeah.
Someone came from in that cabin and made that marking, and they don't know who it was.
Yeah. And there are 4 suspects, if I count correctly, because there's the 2 acolytes of Saint Yig, because we know it wasn't Brother Otar, because he was inside the whole time doing the ritual, and then there's the wife and the eldest son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the invisible killer.
I forgot about him. Or her.
Is he kidding? Huh?
And so you don't want to just go kick down their door and shake them down and find out who did this.
That's not really the paladin MO either.
Oh, I was talking in character.
Have you staked out this cabin to see if they?
Well, sometimes you have to be utilitarian. Sometimes, for the greater good, you have to kick down some doors and knock in some heads.
Sorry, Wick, what'd you say?
I was just wondering if Yvain has staked out this cabin to see if the would-be cultist has tried to return, because chances are they only know how to draw the one holy symbol. So if you mess it up, they're gonna wanna make the mark again.
Well, so the thing is that the ritual that was healing Hendon is completed. The Hendon is cured of the necrotic energies that were infesting him. He's not fully healed, and so last night Sir Yvain stood outside their house at the doorway and basically made sure that no cultists with like a knife came in to stab anybody. But as far as we can tell, there isn't any real reason that they would draw that mark in the same place, because the ritual that was being disrupted by the mark is done.
Okay. Well, I think we need.
You staked out the place, and no one came out to cause any more mischief.
There was, well, it's complicated. Badonk caused a little bit of mischief, but that was just because he was drunk.
Yeah, that's his way.
Oddly, it isn't. The Badonk really, I think there's only been maybe once a season where he's really been in his cups. That's the way Jeff's been playing his character.
Yep.
So it was really like he got hammered and mistook Sir Yvain for Sir Albus and was apologizing for getting him killed.
Interesting.
Wow.
So maybe if we just watch the house and see if someone leaves, sneaks out. I don't know. Then if they're sneaky, we probably won't be able to see them.
That's great.
Although my orc friends here, I've heard that they can see in the dark. And you have a wolf. Maybe your wolf can sniff them out. Sniff out evil. I don't know.
I have been training the animal to track. That might be
I hear that animals can tell whether someone's nice or not.
Well, you can usually tell by them eating the face off or not. So.
Well, not taste good, nice, pleasant.
Oh, well, that too.
We're watching in the nighttime. I have another set of eyes that might be of assistance.
So I want to reiterate to you, we know the 4 potential people that it could be, right? It's not a matter of staking out a place and finding,
following them when they leave.
There are 4 of us.
There are 4 of us. But the point is, we need to find a way to figure out who is a secret cultist, not just who's going to a cult site back and forth or something like that, right?
Just go up and say, "Are you a secret cultist?"
It's a human intelligence problem, not a surveillance problem.
I think you're overthinking it, holy man. You just ask him. Or pretend. Maybe pretend to be say, hey, where's a good cult hangout, cult of Orcus hangout? I'm new in town.
I think they might pick up on the ruse if I tried that, Sorolov, but
we're new in town, right? I don't know. I've seen things in Iron Moat that have made me change my way from being just a normal, happy-go-lucky henchman. Where is this cult of Orcus hangout? I don't know. I've had a few ales. I'm just thinking.
It turns out he's a lightweight as far as drinks go.
Well, here's a potential idea.
Orcs are notorious. Maybe Orcus, right? That works. See?
Well, we could stage a scuffle between myself and Sir Yvain. I could use some of my magic that is not perhaps pleasant to behold, and that might give this would-be cultist an idea that he might have a friendly ear.
I can even enhance the disguise by putting a patch over one of my eyes. Or that bounty you're looking for. Maybe that guy is a cultist.
Cultists don't normally have bounties. They're normally slain outright by the clergy.
Oh.
Yeah, not a lot of money to be made.
Sir loves learning a lot. So, a lot of ideas have been thrown your way, Sir Yvain. What are you guys going to do?
Or we just hit the path to Bogtown and find the
I like
Toad Mother.
that. The subtlety is not my forte.
Yeah, I think.
I can snoop around and talk to some people, but I'm relatively well known as an adventurer. Not as well known as Badonk, but I was also walking around with a Cult of the Green Man medallion, so I don't think they'll necessarily take a shine to me.
So let's talk game mechanics,
okay,
guys.
so I've got another idea.
Okay.
So, we know that 3 of the potential suspects were in the house last night while I was outside, because the female acolyte, whose name I forget,
Scylla.
and the wife, Scylla, and the wife, whose name I forget,
Stella sounds like an evil name.
Yeah, Vina.
Vina, and Tamsin
So does
were all
Vina, damn
inside
it.
the house last night. So if somebody put a symbol somewhere last night, then it would have to be the 4th one, right?
Walk us through that again.
So what I'm thinking is that we know that 3 of the suspects didn't leave the house overnight last night.
Well, last night you were keeping watch.
Last night I was keeping, or they didn't leave through the front door.
Right.
Certainly. Yeah. So if there is another mark and it was placed during the night, then it would have to be the one suspect who wasn't inside the house last night.
Okay.
Right? So do we have any way of, like, detecting the presence of evil magic that would seek out one of these marks, or give us some edge for finding it beyond just walking around and looking in all of the horse stalls and behind all the houses?
Well, okay, so let's talk game mechanics. What you could do is, in the exploration mode, you could, if you don't have the ability to detect any kind of arcane power or any kind of magical power whatsoever, then you're probably going to be just searching, right? Like you're going to be using your perception to kind of look around and try and find whatever might be there. If you do have access to, say, a detect magic cantrip, then maybe you could be doing that as you're casting that for 10 minutes over and over, trying to stretch your senses out. You won't fatigue yourself, you won't exhaust yourself by doing that. But if you're using that, then you might use, depending on your class, you might use a nature check, you might use a arcana check, or an occultism check.
Ooh, I got occultism.
But you do not have the ability to cast magic.
Nope.
No. So that's the way. Is that what Arlen was suggesting? Is sort of sensing the wafting stench of that necrotic, mark. Is that right?
Yeah. So that's basically what I'm thinking. Is if we can figure out any way to, if we can find, basically, if we can get lucky and find a mark today, we can be fairly certain that it's the 1 out of the 4 who wasn't inside the house while I was standing watch outside of it all night, because they probably put it at night
So
See in
is
secret.
the mark made with goat's blood?
I don't know. What did the mark seem to be made out of? Was it just scratched in?
It was
or
burned.
Burned.
It was in a pen with goats, though.
Yes, it was in a pen with goats.
What
so,
can wolves smell things?
Yes.
Maybe since you're training your wolf to track, maybe he can track someone who smells like a goat.
Well, this
Or
town
he'll
is
find a bunch of
small, and lots of people could be by the goats.
yeah, but that's not a bad idea.
More likely to lead us out in the field.
I can come up with some good ones.
Is there more than one
I
goat
was a
pen in
farmer
here?
for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe they stepped in goat shit.
The Orcus has an affinity for goats. I mean, that's what he's a ram-headed god, right?
With
So
cat wings. That's
So checking all the goat pins first.
hides
and-
might be familiar.
Yep.
Well, I am experienced in tracking, so we can give it a shot. And my dog's trained in it. so-
Tracking's like survival's not going to help you, unless what you're looking for is more tracks around the house. But I don't know if that's specifically going to help you with this. It'd probably
Yeah.
more be perception is what you're looking for. You're looking for the
But-
mark itself. You're not looking for.
We could look for tracks around the Shrine of Saint Yig to see if the fourth acolyte. I can't remember anybody's names today. I feel
Gamdar.
really bad. Gamdar.
Second acolyte.
Second acolyte. Yeah. Second acolyte, fourth suspect. We could look around the Shrine of Saint Yig to see if there are any tracks around there to see if he might have gone somewhere,
Sure.
which might lead us to one of those symbols.
Okay.
If he turns out to be the bad one.
Okay. So is that what you guys want to do with your?
Yeah.
It's getting to like the afternoon right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be casting detect magic. Yeah.
Okay. So, Wick, what is your occultism bonus?
Hoo-hoo, 0.
It's plus 0?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not trained at all in it. Okay.
I'm not trained at all in occultism.
Okay. Yeah, it's on a flat surface. Jack dice. Okay. You rolled really well though. Okay, so you're and you are searching where at the Hendon and Vina's cabin is right here, guys, right near where the windmill is. So you're over there and you start looking around, and what does it look like as you stretch out your mystic senses?
Well, it looks like my clothes have like swelled as if they kind of caught a billowing breeze,
Okay.
and just a few purple, like lightning-y sort of sparks leap from my fingers and into my eyes, and so now my eyes have a bit of a purplish crackling glow behind the pupils.
Love it. Okay, so you are you've got that unnatural kind of look to you as you're looking around outside of the cabin. So Yvain, you're just looking.
I have detect magic also.
Oh, okay, nice. And you okay? What is your occultism bonus?
Can I use Arcana instead, or does it have to be occultism?
I think it's going to be occultism by virtue of the nature of this magic.
Could it be religion? Since it's the Orcus cult?
Yeah, I'll let that. Yeah.
Okay. My religion is +6.
My dexterity is apparently 6. I can't keep my hands on the dice. Also very good. Okay, and you're sensing out there still is what you're picking up is the residual stink of that magic.
Yeah.
Oh, Wick, what would your religion bonus have been?
+5.
+5. Okay, nice. Soralev, you're just are you helping with this?
I don't know. Can my farming lore?
No.
My farming...
No.
I do
So
have
here-
occultism.
here's the thing.
So if I could
Just
look
to
around for
hold
any
on, guys.
signs of
Whoa,
occultism.
hold on, Carl. Let's just remember that the way to approach these types of tests is figure out what character's going to do in the fiction, then we'll look to your character sheet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, rather than like what I don't want is just
Since I'm somewhat trained in occultism. Maybe the farmers had weird cults. I could look around for signs, like secret signs or anything like that, that might be a tip-off. To
Okay,
this is
yeah.
Where the cult
yeah.
meets.
What's your occultism bonus?
4.
+4. Okay. Okay. So apart from the marking that you see, and this is probably the first time you've seen a mark of Orcus in real life, and this is the one they show you what it looked like in that goat's pen, and it's right at the side there where there's the pen where the animals are in there, and the goats actually have refused to go back into the pen. So you get in there, and right near the bottom, what would have been covered by some piled hay is this hideous marking, a brand that looks like a silhouette of a ram's skull. So you know, Sir Albus, again, Jesus, Sir Yvain, it's a character who hasn't been played. He hasn't been alive for more than a year, and I'm still fucking it up. Jeez. I think because I teased Brent about it so much in our Starfighter game. So you start looking around Sorolav, and then Druk, what are you doing?
Do I notice him find that skull?
Yes.
That would, that'll definitely. So if somebody else has handled that skull other than him, my dog might be able to get a scent off of it that we can use to track somebody down with.
Well, remember, it's not an actual skull; it's a brand on the side of the house.
Well, I mean, I can find a scent of who's been there, right? Or the dog could.
You could try, yeah. Okay.
Well, that's what I'll try to do with him.
What's
Instruct him to.
Okay, what is the dog's or the wolf's survival bonus?
It's +4.
+4.
He's trained
okay.
in it.
Okay. So, you know, I think that after spending about an hour or a little more, guys, you're looking around and you find some things that maybe you think might be, might be suspicious, but nothing conclusive. At some point, Druk, I mean, like the hair dog, will go over to the house, and it smells that people, Vina comes out to sort of see what's going on and sees this big wolf there. And she's like, oh, and sees you there, and then I imagine sees Sir Yvain. She's like, are they with you then?
Yes.
What are you? And she looks behind and then kind of pulls the door closed behind her. What are you doing? Is there something we should be worried about?
Nothing to worry about. Official business for the Church of St. Yig.
The hair dog is kind of going around and sniffing her. And she's what?
I keep a hand on his shoulder just so she doesn't seem too threatening.
Okay. So it keeps it kind of looks at her. Its nostrils still going. So then the priest, he's hired these men.
Through
Othar?
me. Brother Othar entrusted this task to me, and I've delegated.
Should we be worried then?
Not right now.
Hendon's better, but he's not ready to. Not now?
Not yet. If there is cause for worry, don't be concerned. You'll be the first to know.
Very well. And she still looks pretty tired,
Yep. Yep.
Can
I ask her to pause and do one of my surges of detect magic on her specifically?
Sure.
Yeah. So I say, Vina, if you wouldn't mind a moment, could you hold out your hands, and I kind of cup them underneath with my gauntleted hands and down at them, and
you're certain that there's no enchantment on her at all.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was helpful in a way that is difficult to explain right now, but don't worry.
She kind of looks a little confused back and forth between Roan and Druk, saying, very, very well. If there is something.
Could you send Tamsin out?
Tamsin?
Yeah, it would be helpful if I could do the same with him.
Of course. And she opens the door. Tamsin, and he comes out. And Tamsin, this is the first that Druk, Sorolav, and Roan. Roan, you've probably seen him around town. He is Hendon, the ranger, is Hendon's older son. So Tamsin comes out. He's about 17, and he looks up at you and says, "Oh, Yvain."
It's good to see you. Well, Tamsin, if you don't mind, could you hold out your hands for me?
Of course. He kind of looks at Vina, and she says, nods her head as if to say, like, do it.
Yeah.
He puts his hands out. You place your hands up underneath. You gesture. You're certain there's no enchantment on him. The dog's still sniffing at him as well.
Okay. Thank you, Tamsin. It's good to see you better.
Thank you. And he kind of stops. Thank you. He hasn't forgotten that you're the one who, burned that evil out of him before.
Yep.
So Tamsin kind of looks at Vina, and Vina says, go on, and sends him in and closes the door again, and Vina steps forward. She says, what is this about then?
It's very difficult to explain right now.
Well, and she steps forward. If it involves my family, I would very much appreciate knowing. I appreciate what you've done for my family.
I understand that, Vina, and know that I am doing everything that I can to keep your family safe, but part of that involves keeping a few things close to the chest just for a day or two.
Give me a diplomacy check. Let's see how convincing you are.
Okay, can I use a hero point?
You absolutely can.
All right, let me use a hero point, because I'm normally pretty good at diplomacy.
Yeah.
When you roll a 3...
Oh, and you guys would all have a second hero point too, guys. You did some great role-playing in the bar there.
That's an 11 again.
Okay, so she kind of steps forward and she says, I appreciate that you may think that you need to come in and save things. I will not have this task placed to others. What is going on?
Drew just leans his head back and says, somebody skulled a sign of Orcus in your goat pen.
She said, well, I know that.
We're trying to find out who did it.
And what does that have to do with me and my... She looks, and she is staring daggers at you, Sir Yvain.
Yep.
She's like, so that's how it is then.
Somebody inside the house did it.
And you... And my son...
There aren't very many options, Vina.
Shoves you, and she's much smaller than you, so you can choose to move with it if you want, or you can choose to not
No,
move
well,
with
I'm going to do my best to make sure she doesn't hurt herself on my armor or anything.
Yeah.
But...
And she walks over to the door, she turns around, she says, get out of here! All of you! I don't want to see any of you here around here again. She looks, and there's that look of withering disappointment that only mothers can muster. That she shoots you, Sir Yvain, and then she turns and slams the door behind her.
So who are the two that are missing?
I'll pat Sir Yvain on the shoulder of his armor and to say, that look gets easier to bear after your mother sells you to a cult.
So as the door slams shut, Druk's like, well, if he says it loud enough that she might hear it from the other side of the door. Neither one of them are the problem. I mean, we've got the sense of the other two. So.
Drew, give me a diplomacy check, will you?
Oh, great. Come on, roll high. I'm re-rolling that. There we go.
The nat 1.
Yeah, I used a hero point to get that 18.
Okay. So, all right, so that's good enough. So it's as you intended it, and what the nat 1 was going to be was that effectively implying that they're members of the cult. So,
I was trying to shift the blame from Sir Yvain to somebody else, because
for sure, yeah. Okay, so you say that, and Hair-Dog kind of looks up at you like, what next?
Find the other two.
Sir Yvain, what are you? How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling kind of shitty. I'm doing my best not to lash out at Druk, because I know that he's just a simple soul who doesn't know the niceties of, regular human contact like a normal person, to avoid telling people that they're potential cultists.
Taking so long, though.
He's also really kind of annoyed because one of the issues is that, as I understand it, detect magic would have shown if they were, for instance, under a spell that caused them to do that, but it wouldn't show if they had the kind of malignant thoughts that would cause them to do it of their own volition.
Precisely, yeah.
And he's not aware if everybody else in the party understands that, but he definitely does.
Okay.
What kind of skill roll would it be to see how genuine she seemed in her anger?
I actually rolled for you already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's if I made a secret roll for each of you guys to see whether it felt false to you or whatnot, and it did ring true to each of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Drick, next time, we're going to play it cool until we get pushed into a position where we have to say something. And especially if you think about it, we could have played that in a way that maybe took advantage of our knowledge that she didn't have at the time. Now we're losing our advantage because of her increased knowledge relative to us, and we don't know for certain that it's well.
So
She
let's
seems harmless enough.
just because the way she is now, she's obviously pissed right now.
Yep.
But let's just quickly talk game mechanics. You have an opportunity to try and change their attitude once a day.
Yep.
Right, so you can do that as an exploration mode action. So you could try and go back and, smooth things over. I might even let someone else who's not Drook kind of be the, good paladin versus Sir Yvain's bad paladin. But I mean, that's just because that she's pissed at you right now doesn't necessarily mean she's always going
Yeah,
to.
no, I know that she's, but I'm mostly annoyed about the fact that if she is one of the cultists and we haven't figured out a way to eliminate any suspects, now she knows that we know.
Yeah.
And we didn't gain really anything from that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of feeling out of my depth and more than a little frustrated.
And potentially
like
surrounded by cultists too.
Yep.
Yeah. Because the one thing I guess you guys had not contemplated too, who's to say there's one cultist?
Yep. That has crossed Sir Yvain's mind.
There's very few cults of one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you guys stand back. So it doesn't appear that, consistent with what, Brother Othar had told you that, or what I think you suspected before, Sir Yvain, that, if the effect or the benefit of making that mark was to allow that necrotic infection to run its course and have Hendon turn, right? That was what that was going to do. Just having the mark there doesn't do anything.
Yep.
Right, so that doesn't surprise you maybe. You really wanted to make sure that it wasn't there, but...
Yeah. Although, we wanted to make sure it wasn't there, and it seems like that might be somehow related to how the cultists communicate or organize or something, is that they probably need some way to have, secret images or something like that to say,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to go dance around the bonfire at midnight tonight. That sort of thing.
Well, Sorolev, you know enough that from your occultism role, like you weren't wrong that there's secret markings in the same way that hobo markings were in the 20s in our world, right? There's things that would be made like a branch would be broken in a certain way, or a certain arrangement of stones would be made, like hikers' marks on a trail. There's certain secret markings known only to the initiated that communicate to fellow members of that coven. You just haven't recognized any just yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what might help though is, again, so I let the way I run the game, and this is what I do with most games too, is that like when you try something, I'll allow you to. You can't just use it again, but what you can do is change the circumstances to then introduce something new. Right now, if that's what you're thinking, maybe you need to go and gather more information about what those markings might look like, right?
Well, and there's that book that had the information about the symbol of Orcus originally in the library of the Church of St. Yig.
Yeah.
Check it out.
That seems like the easiest next step.
Well, and there's others. You guys did also think that maybe searching the grounds of the Church of St. Yig, or the Shrine of St. Yig, and the graveyard from behind. That's another option as well, too, guys. I don't want to direct you down, funneling into one just way. There's a bunch of different things you could be doing.
If we're gonna leave to go search, can I get my bat to stay behind
Sure.
and keep an eye on this place?
Yeah. What's your bat's name?
Bruce.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just gonna call him Rend.
Rend? Sure.
And so he's been kind of hanging out in the back of my hood,
Okay.
and I'm just gonna coax him out and whisper something to him in Orcish, and he will respond to me in Orcish that he does not want to go, but I will.
And he's a bat. Does that mean that he is then voiced by Robin Williams?
Oh god, I hope not. Maybe Matt Brewer.
Matt Frewer. Okay. Love it.
He's kind of anxious. He's an anxious little guy.
Okay.
I tap on the hair dog's shoulders as he whines and licks his chomps, looking at the bat. No. No.
All right. So your bat, takes off, and where does it hide itself?
Is there any like kind of, probably just like around the rafters, maybe in a goat pen or like somewhere where I can watch the house?
Sure. Like in the eaves or
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So flies out and lodges itself underneath there. So you, and actually maybe you can help us know, because I can't remember which ones you selected. What familiar powers did you pick?
He has, and I wrote them down somewhere. He has damage avoidance, dark vision, flight, and speech.
Nice. Okay. So Rend is placed. Now, what are you guys going to do?
Go to the church, I guess. The library that you mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's the thing to do.
Okay.
Druk isn't going to find much in the library, so while they're doing that, he's going to try and make rounds about town, having Hair Dog sniff out the other scents that he might have found at the goat pen.
Okay. Druk, I'll tell you that Wolfdog did not actually find a good enough scent to follow.
Well, we're probably...
Like, the thing is, not only are there, like, whatever actually made that marking, you also had, whatever was there before, plus you had at least 3 members of the party that were tromping around in there, plus you guys.
Okay.
So it's understandable why he can't, he's not able to follow. The tracks themselves were actually, it was really either a, luck or that there was some other power at work that allowed Werbin, the dwarf, to actually, notice those markings.
Okay, well, it'll probably take Druk about 10 minutes to figure out that his dog couldn't do anything, and then he'll follow them into the library.
Okay. Now, if what you meant, John, is that you wanted to do, building on what you had said before, is to then bring the dog over and try and see if there were the same scents around the Shrine of St. Yig, that's a different thing.
Or that. Yeah, that might work.
Okay? Because that's what you had suggested before. The thing that he can't follow is, there's not a direct line from the cabin over to wherever this thing is. But if there is a scent that's around there, I think he may be able to pair that up.
Yeah, what I was thinking was not directly search for it, but if he catches the wind of a scent somewhere else where we're just meandering around town.
Yeah, okay. So, meandering around town, think about who the suspects are.
No idea.
No, but
The peasants.
you John is what I'm saying. You John, think about who they've mentioned as the suspects.
Mm-hmm.
All of these people are well known.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, inhabitants of town. So more likely than not, he's going to pick up sense of. Even if he does pick up the sense, it's going to be maybe because, I'm not sure they'll be able to distinguish between that scent and the others, right? Whereas if you focus in on a specific area, that's where I'm saying, like, okay, while they're in the library farting around, you could do that maybe.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. So let's do this here. Let's we'll start with the library. So you guys head in, and as you walk into the Shrine of St. Yig, you can see that I think that Sella is getting is probably meeting with some parishioners as you walk in, Sir Yvain, flanked by Sorlov and Roan. And she says, just if you would, for a moment. And she walks over and she's like, yes? What?
If possible, we'd like to use the library.
and she kind of looks at you and looks at the others. Well, and Roan, I mean, you've had experience with Sela before, and particularly what she had a definite dislike of Skurg, but she didn't really seem to care for many of you all that much anyway. But she, you know, in spite of the look she shoots Soralev and to you, Roan, well, if you're quiet, Brother Othar is sleeping. So, and you can see.
Sure, I can't really read, but I can see pictures, so I won't talk at all.
Is Brother Othar in good health?
He is. Just the ritual took a great deal out of him.
Okay.
I understand that you. And she kind of looks at Roan and Soralev. I understand that you came by.
Earlier, we had a message to deliver to Brother Othar from Hinden's family.
I see. Well, and she kind of looks awkwardly at Roan and Soralev. Then just be quick.
Of course.
She turns and heads back to the parishioners. And as you guys turn and start making your way up the winding staircase that leads up to the library, you pass Gamdar, the half orc. Boom, 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 coming down the stairs, and he sees you guys and seems. It's tough to tell with him. He always has that sour kind of look in his face. But he looks and he murmurs, you know, kind of half-heartedly that blessings of Saint Yig. And continues on down the stairs. Roan, I think you've seen Skurg have a run-in with him before. Skurg definitely took a dislike to him, and Sela disliked Skurg, so the fact that Brother Othar took a liking to him is probably the only reason that you guys weren't kicked out of here altogether. But yeah, Gamdar walks by, and you know that Gamdar is the other suspect that Sir Yvain had in mind. So he heads down, you guys head up into the library. Now, we're going to do this like we did the other tasks, guys. Someone is going to be the primary on this, and the other two, Soralev and Surya, and I'm assuming Soralev is not going to make the main role because he's a first level character, but Soralev and someone else can make the supporting roles. What are you guys thinking here?
Well, so I'm thinking we should start with the book that we found before, right? And even if that doesn't have exactly the information that we want, it seems like that's right. We found one book that was about symbols of Orcus the last time we were here.
Yep.
Do we just know where that? Can we just grab that one from the pile, basically?
Yeah.
And
yeah, and there's probably more around here, or there's possibly more around here too.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is well, we start with the book we know about, and then we'll go looking for other stuff.
Okay. So the person who is going to be making the primary role, this will be an occultism role again as the primary skill. But if you guys can pitch me what you think the people can do to, or the rest of you guys can do to help, let me know. What are you thinking?
Soralev is looking for symbols or tells that these kind of dark cults use, while someone else is flipping through the pages.
So you're just kind of keeping an eye out? Sure, yeah. So why don't you give me an occultism roll, please?
Okay.
Let's see if you can assist with that. You're kind of they're flipping through the books, I think, a little too quickly, so you're just not picking up what it's like they all look alike, or they all look so different. Like it's just, ugh.
Can I use a hero point to focus?
Of course,
Come on.
yeah, absolutely.
Focus.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it's even worse. I close my eyes instead of opening them.
Yes, Soralev's like, I'll help you out here. 5 minutes later, he's just.
We go till 10, right?
A little too much. Yeah, we're wrapping up right away.
Okay.
Yeah. Roan, what are you thinking?
Could I use underworld lore as a means of how cultists infiltrate other organizations and stay hidden?
Given your background, yeah, I'll allow that.
Okay.
Yep.
Make a roll. As soon as I find the relevant part of my character sheet.
Okay, and I think it's a lore is probably added right at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the ones you have to add on. Whoa! Nice! Okay, so you're adding a +2 to Sir Yvain's roll. Why don't you give me a roll there, Sir Yvain?
Occultism?
Please.
All right. I'm not so good at occultism. Okay, hero point.
Okay. Oh!
That's no good.
So you guys are spending all that time in there trying to find this stuff. Boy, like it's just there's so many. You know what I think is the case is like everything you've read so far, it's so speculative or it's so high. It's so high level of an analysis. Like they don't really. There's a reason that these cults have been able to remain hiding is because people just don't know how to find them.
Well, and I like I said, I'm a religious scholar, not really a intriguey, culty, cloak and dagger sort of person. So I'm probably very interested in what they have to say about, the theories behind Orcus as a god and all that, but really not able to pick up on what does the actual functioning of the cult work like when you're on boots on the ground.
So, Druk, why don't you give me we'll cut outside as you guys are, so Roan and Sir Yvain, you're sort of paging through these books, and Sorlev is not, sleeping off all those beers he had, the day drinking he did at the Brazen Strumpet. Druk, give me a survival check for me, will you?
For me or the dog?
I'll let, well, I'm assuming you're helping, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Why don't you give it to me? I'll make the roll for your dog here and see if you get a bonus. You do. You get +2 to your roll.
Okay. I'm gonna hero point that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I can get better than that normally.
Nice. Really good. Okay. So what you as you're kind of looking around in this yard and the front you kind of have wandered around and sniffed. There's nothing. You guys have made your way into the actual the modest graveyard that is set out behind there, and one of the things that you can see, there's a pile of rubble nearby as well too. That appears to be part of the the roof that was damaged by that thing that was unable to be repaired as well. They've heaped whatever that thing was made of, the thing that attacked the church, into a corner as well. And you're sort of looking along the edge of the house as you had kind of planned, and then you can hear sort of that low growl of a hair dog. And you look over, and he kind of whines, and he's near that rubble pile.
Okay. I'm gonna draw a scimitar and then make my way towards it and start investigating.
Okay. So you draw your scimitar and you make your way over. And I mean, it's it's mid-afternoon at this point. The first wisps of the ice fog that comes in the evening here are beginning to form. But I mean, it's and it's actually pretty much dead. So you can hear the sound of every footfall as the snow crunches underneath it. You pass the rows of gravestones until you make your way to the pile, and you can see that there is a small dugout area where Wolfdog is actually, dug into the actual snow and then down to the actual rubbish pile itself, or the heap. And you look down, and while you have no training in religion or such things, you certainly have an eye for that keen kind of woodsman's eye for recognizing patterns. Because what you can see is there is a buried kind of deep underneath here, and then unearthed by your dog, is a stone about yay big, and it is a relatively circular, near perfect circle. In fact, like it's a marked contrast to the collected earth and rocks and whatnot that are otherwise make up this pile. And in the center of that stone is the same marking of a silhouette of a ram's head.
Is it raised up?
It is actually carved in, and then it's filled with some kind of black, and you're not sure if it's dirt or earth or perhaps something more foul. But it seems to be right in the middle of the heap that was that thing that attacked and destroyed the roof of the Shrine of Saint Yeg.
awesome.
And at that, you feel a cold chill around you, and you feel an impulse to maybe go inside and check and see how your friends are doing.
Yeah, at that point, I'm gonna. I kind of like reach down and I detect magic just on it, just to get a whiff what it is. And his magic kind of looks like these little green and gray motes floating from the natural fauna. You
Sure.
focus on his hand, because his magic is all about sense and smell and non-visual senses.
Yeah.
So he just wants to get a sense of magic on it, if there is.
So let's see if I can get this audio cue right here. I don't know if I've got the right one, but let's see. So you drift your magical senses out. Those little green motes go out, surround this thing, and you drop it to the ground and stagger back.
Oh, yeah. He immediately turns tail and walks to the library. He doesn't even touch it.
Okay.
Like, come on, dog.
So our session ends with Drook and Hair Dog go running around the corner. We pan back to sitting this blackened stone against the white cover of earth surrounding the graveyard. What that means for our heroes, we'll have to find out next time. So, for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for session 12 of our ongoing campaign, playing back in the Barrowmaze. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section of the video, or you can find me on Twitter at Dungeon Musings. You can also shoot me an email, and my email address is dungeonmusings@gmail.com, or if you follow the link in the description of the video, you can join us on the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we've been continuing to chat up this campaign and the other campaigns that we've got on the channel. Almost everyone who's a player is on there as well, too. So if you've got questions for the guys about the characters they're playing or what they're doing in the campaign, you can feel free to reach out to us there. In addition, you may notice there's a link to something called Heroes Save Villages in the description of the video, and that is the charity fundraising campaign that we're running on the channel. As soon as we wrap up tonight's session, I will be going on there and updating the rewards, which I've been promising to do for about, I should have done 3 days ago, but I will be doing that tonight with some new rewards and adjusting the target. That charity initiative is something that benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, a really terrific organization that benefits over 80,000 orphan and abandoned children in over 130 countries. And thanks to the very generous viewers and donors and players thus far, we've actually exceeded our annual target already. So I'm going to have to adjust the target from now until the end of the year. So, and to in connection with that, I'm also adding some interesting new rewards that'll give you opportunities to interact with our games in a more meaningful way. We don't monetize the channel in any other way. We don't run a Patreon. We don't run ads. So if you are inclined to toss any shekels in the direction of the channel, that's how I would encourage you to at least learn a little more about the campaign and see if that's something you'd be comfortable contributing to. Of course, I don't want anybody to feel obliged to do that. Just if you are inclined to toss GP our way, that's how I'd ask you to do it. Last but not least, I want to thank my players. So, John, Carl, Arlen, and returning from his sabbatical, triumphant in his new home, Chad. Thanks so much for playing tonight, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
For running.
Thanks for running, Kev.
Awesome. Okay, so then, for those listening at home, we'll be back again on Friday with more adventure in the Barrowmaze. Until then, thanks again for watching, and happy gaming.